surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. This is the verse every devotee in the Hare Krishna movement knows, auswendig, by heart. Sarva dharman parityaja, mamekam sharanam vraja. The only question is that how to interpret this text, this verse. To interpret this verse, is this going, Subal Gopal Prabhu? Sorry? Okay. So I should start again. Okay. A sound is there, okay. So, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me, Krishna says. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So this is interesting because sarva dharman, because in the previous chapters, this is the 18th chapter, the last chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. In the previous chapters, Krishna explains different kind of dharmas. This dharma, that dharma, so different kind of dharmas. So why would we abandon this kind of dharmas now? This is explained karma yoga, buddhi yoga, dhyana yoga. So suddenly, Krishna says, abandon all these dharmas. So this is a dilemma. Should we abandon the dharmas or should we follow the dharma? What does it exactly mean to abandon the dharma? Give up all your dharmas. So the question is how to actually, why should we give up all these dharmas? So let's see what Srila Prabhupada says in his purport. The Lord has described various kinds of knowledge and processes of religion, knowledge and supreme Brahman, knowledge of the super soul, knowledge of the different types of orders and statuses of social life, knowledge of the renounced order of life, knowledge of non-attachment, senses, and mind control, meditation, etc. Shri Nrsimhadev Prahlad Maharaj ki Jaya. So, once again, for the benefit of those who don't understand English, 1866, we're reading this verse here. And the way Krishna says, abandon all your dharmas. So the question is again, why should we abandon all those dharmas? Because Prabhupada again describes this. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita is a long book. Bhagavad Gita has how many verses? Anybody from India knows how many verses Bhagavad Gita has? 700 verses. And there are many people who know all the verses in Bhagavad Gita. They just recite verse after verse after verse. And one of the and there are different sciences of spiritual knowledge described. So, different processes of religion, meaning different processes of dharma. So, knowledge of the supreme Brahman. What is the Brahman? What is everything? Because we sometimes, there's again, these books are written lately, last 10 years, the short history of everything. So this is interesting. Of everything? What does it mean, the short history of everything? But this is actually everything. Brahman is everything. Sarva kal idam Brahman. Everything is Brahman. Because everything rests on Krishna's energy. So this is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Then knowledge of the super soul, Param Atma. It is also described. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshe arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudani maya. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that Ishvara sarva bhutanam, I am in everybody, hrideshe. That hrid is heart. So Krishna says, I am ruler, I am Ishvara, God, in everybody's heart. So this is this concept of Paramatma is such a unique concept in the history of religion. Oh, thank you. So no history of religion ever has described Paramatma. Because we think many times, for example, in the monotheistic religions, they think that God is above this material world, and somehow He produced this material world, but He's above it and He's overlooking it. We know the famous picture in a Sistine Chapel in Italy, where Adam is standing like this with a finger, and God with a beard. He's like very muscular. He's standing also and he's touching the fingers. So somehow this is connection, earth and heavens. And therefore when people, the football players, when they score a goal, they're looking at the sky and crossing, somehow they think that God is watching them from the above. How very nice, you kicked the ball very nicely. This is ridiculous. But our concept is not just this God is everything, Sarva Kalvidam Brahma, that I'm everywhere, all pervasive, but also that Krishna expands into Paramatma. This is like an amazing thing, actually, when you think about it. That God not only creates and He permeates everything, but He is also in everyone's heart as a person. And they said He is watching the activities. Hrideya Shajuna Tishtati Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudani Maya. And the living entity is also sitting next to Krishna in the heart. And they're driving, this car of body. And body goes shopping, body goes eating, sleeping. And the passenger is just sitting there, Paramatma and Atma. So this is the very, very unique concept in the history of religion. There is no such a religion to describe this. So therefore we accept the Vedic knowledge as a complete knowledge, Vedanta. Because Krishna says, Vedanta krit vedavit evachaham. That the end of knowledge is Krishna. And Veda means knowledge. Vedanta, Anta means end. The last. And there's no more knowledge than this. Because if you go to university, there's always new knowledge and new knowledge. Especially nowadays, technology, You go finish the technology degree, you get a degree in technology, and then after 5 years the technology changed. After 20 years the technology changed. If you, for example, say to a new person, do you know what videotape is? They have no idea. Tape? What is a tape? Young people don't know what tapes are. We were listening tapes. In our time, there was no digital anything. There was a tape, and you put in play, and you press the button, boop, and then tapes plays music. So technology changes very rapidly. So meaning that knowledge is increasing over, more and more and more. So nowadays they think even that it's possible to create a human being, with artificial intelligence. That's called transhumanism. They expect to actually either enhance human being or create a completely new human being. Because the knowledge constantly increases. But every knowledge has an end. Everything has an end. In the material world, everything has a beginning and an end. Everything, again, Bhagavad Gita describes, everything, whoever is born, whatever is born and whoever is born has to die. This is the law of the material nature. So whatever knowledge is there, that's to be end of knowledge. So what is the end of knowledge? Krishna. And Krishna sends, or you can say, He transmits the Vedas to the material world so that people can actually get benefited. So this is Vedanta, the end of knowledge. So, Supreme Brahman, this is knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, knowledge of the Super Soul, knowledge of the different types of orders and statuses of social life. So this is another interesting concept, which is written in the Vedas. Not only that we are advised to leave the material world behind, and this is, as I said this morning, Babylon, we should just leave it and go to the spiritual world. But actually, even in this world, the Vedas describe how to live in this world. How to properly live in the material world. Chaturvidya bhajante mam. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, He has divided society into 4 different orders according to guna karma vibhagasha, according to the nature. So meaning that we all more or less can be, of course there are some little overlapping, but mostly there are 4 groups of people. Very intelligent people who are intelligent to study, who are intellectual types. And then you have ruling types, politicians, army, police, kshatriyas. And then we have producing types, vaishyas. We have people who work on the land, who sell things, who buy things, who make money, supposedly protect the cows, although not much is going on. And on the end we have a majority of people is called Shudra, or workers. And therefore when you see, these people are protesting. We are protesting against the owner of the factory who didn't give them some benefits. So this is the protest of the Shudras. This is the worker, people who work for somebody else. It is said the Brahmana never accepts work from anybody. This is not the duty of a Brahmana. Brahmana's duty should learn what is Brahman. They should learn austerity, tolerance, patience, cleanliness, and so on. So Krishna also described this in the Bhagavad Gita. Knowledge of the renounced order of life. Krishna also describes what is renunciation. What is the renunciation of the material world? Interestingly enough, the Prabhupada says that actually the highest renunciation is to renounce the notion that I possess anything at all. And therefore, as such, I should use everything in Krishna service. Anasaktasya vishayam yatarham upayunjata nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagya uchyate. Meaning that this is the actual highest renunciation. Then I understand. I said, I don't want computer, and you throw it away. And I don't want any clothes, you throw it away. But actually, if you realize this does not belong to me at all. Computer does not belong to me. The clothes doesn't belong to me. And even body does not belong to me. This body came to this world against my will. There's the interesting, I came to research a little bit about death. And this interesting idea, in India, there was a lawyer who sued his parents. He sued his parents. Why did they give birth to him without his approval? You understand? So he went to the court, and of course nobody accepted this challenge. The judges said, this is a useless case. But he created a movement called antinatalism. Antinatalism means that there's people who are, so many people who are, you can say, fried, as we call it in ISKCON. Why did we get birth and we have to suffer now for no reason? We didn't want this. They just put us in this situation. Why do we suffer? And he said, it will be much better that we were never born. Because if you're never born, you never have opportunity to suffer. So it's much better than to actually suffer. So they're actually very angry at birth, at parents that they give birth to them. So this is, of course, ridiculous. But the point is not ridiculous. The point is that we have no say in these things, meaning this body is given to us. And you cannot say, I don't want to be born, or I don't want to eat now, or I don't want to... when I first came in contact with Krishna consciousness, I just read the books, I didn't come in contact with devotees. And they said, Prabhupada says here, one should control the senses. So I didn't understand, what does it mean to control the senses? I didn't know what senses are, So I understood, to control the senses means you don't need to go to the bathroom. When you need to go to the bathroom, you said, I'm not going to the bathroom. I thought somehow in my mind, this is controlling the senses, But of course, I didn't make it too long. I couldn't control these sense much long. But the point is there, try not to go to the bathroom. Say, I don't want to go to the bathroom today. Or just say, I don't want to sleep today. It's not possible. Meaning we have these forces which are much, much stronger than us. And you should understand that we are not in control, but these forces are in control of us. This is the whole point of the Bhagavad Gita also. The force is in control. The force of sleep, the force of going to the toilet, the force of hunger, so many different forces, and ultimately the force of death. We cannot control death. Many years ago we were preaching, and we met one young girl, and she was so puffed up, and she said, I will never die. I said, well, you are young now, you speak like this, but no, I refuse to die, and I will not die. So arrogant. You're like, okay, Hare Krishna, whatever you say. But people think like this, but forces are much stronger, much, much stronger. It was interesting to meet her now. What does she think about this now? The forces are much stronger than that. And this is what Bhagavad Gita explains. Daiva, the Daiva Prakriti, the Krishna is divine energy. Although this is material energy, it's Krishna's energy. And therefore, it is unconquerable. Hare Krishna. And very forceful. So this is another thing what Krishna says here in the Bhagavad Gita. The knowledge of non-attachment. Again, what does a non-attachment means? A non-attachment to what? As I explained again, this is a non-attachment to the idea that I am the possessor, that I am the controller. So, sense and mind control. What is the sense control? What is the mind control? Sense control. Prabhupada explained actually what is the sense control, how to easily control the senses. Prabhupada gives a formula. Control the tongue. We just said this today. Controlling the tongue. And how do you control the tongue? Eat only Krishna prasadam offered to the deity. That's all. Prabhupada says this is a simple formula to control all the senses. Because we see in the Srimad Bhagavatam this description of vanaprastha. And the duty of a vanaprastha, the goal of vanaprastha is to realize they are not the body. And vanaprasthas supposed to, vana means forest, they're supposed to leave their comfortable home, warm home, and go to live in the forest. And to live in the forest, what is the first thing you do? You control your eating. There's no pizza in the forest. Imagine pizza's on a tree and you're like, oh, I like this with ananas, There's no such a thing. There's no pizza in the forest. You eat leaves, and if you are really hungry, in the winter time, you eat a tree bark. Imagine how tasty tree bark is. And then it is the advice for vanaprasthas in the winter time to go into the cold river and to stay up to the neck all night. So after this, starving all day long, going to the freezing cold river, when you get out of the river, who is interested in sense gratification? Satisfying the senses, nobody. So this is the point. Of course, this is in the old ages. We don't advise anybody to go. Don't take me wrong. In nowadays, disclaimer: we do not go to the forest and submit ourselves to the water up to the neck. But our austerities, Prabhupada says, we have to do some austerities, and our austerity is eating only Krishna prasadam and only offered to the deities. This is the austerity. In the village, in the farm communities, this is easy. There's only prasadam, there's no shop, you cannot go to buy anything here. But in cities, it's very easy to do that. Lidl's everywhere, Netto, just check it out, and you offer it to Krishna, but you say, okay, I would like to, let me see, this wonderful cheese. I'll offer it to Krishna, but you're buying it for yourself. But actually, if you eat only Krishna prasadam, you eat what is Krishna's, offered to Krishna, and what is Krishna given to you. It's much more controlling. And then Prabhupada says to control the mind is also not so difficult. And how do you control the mind? No. Prabhupada gives one formula, which maybe is different. How do you control the mind? He said control the tongue. Jiva vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jiva vegam, udra pasita vegam. This is mind and jiva and tongue is different. Prabhupada says to control the mind, one have to ignore it. This is interesting, and I was thinking about it, how to, you just ignore the mind. It's like, you're observing the mind. And your mind says, this is terrible weather, and I hate the rain. This is just mind saying, because what is terrible, the concept of terrible and nice, this is just the concept of the mind. There is no such a thing as terrible, not terrible. This is such a nice weather. Nice weather is nice for the mind. Because this is all material elements, it's just material elements, arrangements of the material elements. What do we have to do with this whatsoever? It's also Krishna's, devotee says this is a Krishna's arrangement. Sun, rain, half sun, half rain. And then mind likes things and mind doesn't like things. I like this. This is horrible. This is great. This is wonderful. And mind is indecisive, Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do this. Because Prabhupada says the mind is always seeking new things. My mind wants new things. So what the devotee does, just observes the mind and ignores it. You read and mind is saying this, and you say, okay, later on I have to just finish this chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I'll come back to you later on. Just like when you have somebody who harasses you, but it's not like violent, just talking, said, okay, I think, let me just finish this now, a chapter, and I'll come back. I'll really talk to you later on. When Haridas Thakur was in the cave chanting 192 rounds, and the envious Zamindar, the Burgermeister of this village, wanted Haridas Thakur to fall down, so he sent a very beautiful woman to entice him. And she came, and she was very, sensual, and she said, "Dear Haridas, are you interested? I'm very much interested to spend a night in a cave with you." And Haridas said, "Oh, really? This is very wonderful. Let me just finish my rounds. I will do it. I'll just finish my rounds. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna." And he was chanting and chanting and chanting. 192 rounds is very, very long time to finish the rounds. And she was waiting. And he said, "Just be patient, just to finish my rounds. I'll be there with you." And he was chanting, and then she was already getting dark. She said, "Okay, I think I'm going home." He said, "Yeah, definitely come tomorrow. So she came next day also, very scantily dressed. And she said, "Haridas, are you ready?" And he said, "I'm almost ready. I just have to finish my prescribed number of rounds, Hare Krishna mantra." So he was chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. And the time was passing, and she was waiting. And she said, "Are you ready now?" And he said, "No, I have still to finish my rounds." And so on and so forth. But the point here is, this is the way to approach how to actually control the mind. Just ignore it. Just ignore it. There's another very nice instructive story on a Buddhist, Zen Buddhist. Two monks were sitting on the bank of the river, and there was a raft and a very beautiful woman, And you can, translate, you can put any object you like, man can put very beautiful car, and they can think like, wow, I would like to have this car, And this very nice object is floating on the river, and the monks are looking at it, and they're thinking, wow, this is such a beautiful woman. And the raft is going, and they said, "This is such a beautiful woman." And the raft went, and they said, "This was such a beautiful woman." And they didn't do anything about it. So if we have something like this, we have some very great desire, we just observe. We said, "Oh, this is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful." And it's gone. So we just observe it, meaning we ignored our mind. Prabhupada says we should not follow the dictates of the mind. If mind says, "I need to go now." Like, if you've been to America, many stores are open 24 hours a day. 24 hours? And one devotee once, he said, "Oh, I want to buy you a bicycle." And I said, "Now?" He said, "Yeah, it was 11 o'clock in the night." So bicycle 11, who is buying bicycles in 11 o'clock in the night? But in America, people just go and buy a bicycle at 11 o'clock in the night. And why? Because the mind is so uncontrolled that they get hungry at 1:30 in the morning, and they said, "I'd like to buy something." What you can buy, or you want to buy a bicycle, whatever, you want to buy a tire. In these big Walmart stores, you can buy all kinds of wonderful things. All night, 24 hours. The only time which is closed is for Christmas time. It's only like 4 hours closed. Otherwise, it's open, always open. So this is like a perfect facility for the mind, you can just sit and you say, "I want this," and you just go and get it anytime. And nowadays even worse, you can just click and people deliver to you very easily. So this is all following the dictates of the mind. But actually, in the olden days, in the agrar society, the people could not follow the dictates of the mind so easily. Because first of all, there was no fast cars. There was a bullock cart, and you know how bulls are walking. Boom, boom, boom. So you want to go to Passau from here, it will take you like half a day at least, maybe more. Isn't it? Passau is 50 kilometers, how many? 30 kilometers. They will take all day, basically. The bulls will take all day. And then you arrive in the evening, you have to camp. You arrive at 10 o'clock in the evening, you have to camp there. And then in the morning you can go to the shop, buy something, and then pack in your bull cart and you again. So it will take you around 2.5 days to go to the shop and come back. So it's not worth it. So it's much better to actually, and this is actually why Krishna created land and this kind of culture, just also for this, to control your mind. So modern civilization is actually perfect for fulfilling the whims of the mind. You just sit on Google and you say, what will I look at Google today? How about strange robots attacking vampires? And then look at, there's a whole movement of people, of vampires who are fighting against robots, And then you can enter the chat room and you buy a T-shirt, robots against the vampire, whatever, And you think, wow, I belong to the community of vampires against robots, But it's just a whim of the mind, Internet, this is amazing. So basically, it is very difficult in this age to control the mind. And Prabhupada says ignore it. So how do you ignore it? How do you ignore all these whimsical ideas or whimsical desires of the mind? By engaging the mind. Prabhupada says here, in one of the chapters actually in the Bhagavad Gita, it is described, one who reads this book, reads Bhagavad Gita, worships me, Krishna says, with his intelligence. So we use our intelligence to control the mind. And intelligence means, processing the information. We are reading this and we are processing, Brahman, Supreme Brahman, Super Soul. And then mind thinks, oh yes, Brahman, Super Soul, So we basically engage, intelligence is engaging the mind properly. And the more we read, then the memory, because these informations are stored, this is called in Sanskrit chit, it's like a shuplad. What is a shuplad? Drawers. In various drawers. So whatever we do, whatever we see in this material world for many lives is stored in these drawers of our chit, consciousness. And that's why sometimes devotees in the very early stages, they become devotees, they practice Krishna consciousness, and suddenly some demoniac desires are coming in the head. And you say, where is this coming from? You're afraid of yourself. What is this? But these drawers are somehow opening. And the big demon is coming. And you have this desire, that desire. You surprise yourself. So therefore, with Krishna consciousness, we fill up as many other drawers as possible with Krishna consciousness. And therefore, have these impressions on the mind, there's only Krishna. And therefore, when we have an accident, we drive a car. Of course, we shouldn't have. But somehow, something happens. The first thing what we say is, Krishna. Not Mama, And then if we die, we say Mama, where would we go? This is a good question. Mama. Our Mama is, a little older, maybe still alive. Maybe, maybe you become a woman, maybe, if you're lucky. Or worse is we scream, ah! What will that destination, what is this sound vibration bring us to? So therefore, when we always prepare our mind, then anything happens, we just say Krishna. Because Krishna is always in our mind. They said that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was always chanting Hare Krishna. He said, on his tongue was always vibrating Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Always. There was this story when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu once went to the bathroom. You know the story? Lord Chaitanya went to the bathroom. Even Lord Chaitanya was going to the bathroom. But this was in Jagannath Puri. There was no real bathroom, but in the forest. So there was a young boy, Gopal, passing by. And Lord Chaitanya was, doing his business. And Lord Chaitanya was biting his lip, like that. And Gopal, 5 years old, he said, Hare Baba, why are you biting your lip? And Lord Chaitanya said, he said, why are you biting your lip? You should chant Hare Krishna. Little boy. And Lord Chaitanya said, yes, but this is a not clean place, in the bathroom. We don't bring Bhagavad Gita in the bathroom. We don't read, we sit in the toilet seat and read Bhagavad Gita, This doesn't, not appropriate. So Lord Chaitanya said this is an unclean place, So therefore I'm biting my tongue, because my tongue is always vibrating Hare Krishna, so I'm trying to bite as long as I'm doing the business, and then I get up and Gopal said, this is wrong. You are wrong. He says, because the holy name is so pure, it's not affected by any material contamination. So you should chant Hare Krishna always. And Lord Chaitanya said, wow, you are actually my guru. So from that day on, he was known as Gopal Guru. Gopal Guru. Little baby Gopal, 5 years old. Later on, of course, when all the associates of Lord Chaitanya left, Gopal Guru became the leader of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas after the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But the point is that Lord Chaitanya's mind was always absorbed, or his body was always absorbed in chanting Hare Krishna. So in that way, then you have naturally controlled the mind. You don't need to control the mind at all. Let the mind go 100 miles per hour thinking about Krishna. Who cares? So what else we have? Mind control, meditation, etc. So meditation, what is meditation? It was just described. This is meditation. We always think, meditation is actually everything. Whatever we do is a meditation. When a young boy, he's 16 years old, what is his mind? Only meditation. Girls, more or less, 95. And young girls, 16, of course, I'm exaggerating, but more or less, everybody, this is their meditation. Mother, when she gives birth to a child, her only meditation is a child. So this meditation is something which we focus our mind only, completely on. So basically, when we constantly think of Krishna, this is meditation, Krishna meditation. So therefore, it is required to be absorbed in Krishna. And how do we be absorbed in Krishna? We use all the senses, all the body in the service of Krishna, and images we look on Krishna. Therefore, Prabhupada was very much proud of the devotees to paint all many wonderful paintings. Because when you see these paintings, you remember this. Every devotee knows. You hear the pastime, you remember, oh, I seen this picture in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I seen this picture there. I seen this picture there. These are the images which stay in our mind. We meditate on these images. And therefore we also meditate on the image of the deities, we meditate on the image we meditate on the sound of the holy name, and so on and so forth. So our life is actually practical meditation. We don't sit like, we meditate on now air is coming somehow, whatever, meditation, But we're actually meditating while walking, while doing, while eating, while sleeping. We're actually meditating on Krishna. When we wake up, what is the first thing we say? Hare Krishna. And we look at the watch, 3:45. It's time to wake up for Mangalarti. Hare Krishna. That's why Mangalartis are very important. To actually, the first impressions of the mind is that Krishna, is Krishna. We take shower, we already thinking, okay, I'm going to see Krishna. I'm not going to take shower now to go for a walk. I'm taking shower to greet Krishna. And then the deed is open, and this is dark, and the only thing we see is Krishna for half an hour. So this is the best meditation. And then next meditation is the Hare Krishna mantra chanting, and after that another meditation, and then we listen to the lecture, and then we eat prasadam. This is already like big chunk of meditation, big chunk of the day, given by Srila Prabhupada, to actually absorb the mind in Krishna. And then the rest of the day just goes like floating. But if you don't wake up for Mangalarti, if you don't chant your rounds, if you don't go for Guru Puja, if you don't go for a lecture, if you wake up later, it's a little bit difficult to, remember Krishna or control the mind. So, to come back again, to abandon all varieties of religion, Prabhupada used this word dharma. It does not mean now that we were doing, all these things, knowledge of the Brahma, knowledge of the, so we just give this all up and in the air, we don't need this anymore. No, we need all this, but we give up dharmas which are not suitable, not compatible with this knowledge. This is what we give up. And surrender unto me, I wanted to, maybe tomorrow we can speak more about surrender. It's a very nice, different songs called Sharanagati by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Surrender to the surrender to the Lord's shelter, looking for shelter at Krishna's lotus feet. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives different aspects of surrender. What does it mean to surrender to Krishna? We say, surrender to Krishna. But what does it actually mean, What does it mean to surrender to Krishna? I heard one story, there was one new person came and he didn't know what does it mean, and he just came in front of deities and took his clothes off and he stands like this. Here Krishna, I'm surrendering. This is not really, Krishna probably think like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to look, Because this is not real surrender. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains exactly what surrender is, and I think we should talk about this tomorrow. So, thank you very much. Is there any question? Maybe. Yes.
I was just thinking, you said it's just the mind. If you think that better, do better, it's the mind. But there are situations when you have, for example, a strong pain, you are sick, or you have tooth pain or whatever. It is a different situation than if you are sitting happily healthy on the beach.
Yes.
I mean, this is not the mind, it's a real pain.
It is real pain, but it's pain. We experience pain through the mind. This is described actually in the Shastras, in the Vedas. I think, who describes this? Nyaya, I'm sure Nyaya philosophy describes this. No, Nyaya, or anyways, one of the, Shadarshan philosophers explain this really well. Patanjali maybe. That this is, whatever we experience through the mind. The pain, the pleasure, it's all through the mind. Interestingly enough. The mind is somehow connected, and ultimately it is, in ultimate sense it is the mind. Something is more pleasant, something is less pleasant, but the ultimate sense is it is the mind. In a philosophical sense, it's all the mind. Because if you are so absorbed, as Prabhupada says, I mentioned this morning, this devotee this person who was rolling in front of the deities, pretending to be a great devotee, and Prabhupada said, beat him with a stick. And if he complains, that means he's not advanced. If he doesn't complain, that means he is advanced. Doesn't complain means he's not on the bodily platform at all. When Haridas Thakur was beaten, he did not feel the pain. He didn't say, oh, this is a difficult situation. He just did not feel the pain at all. Because he was completely not on the bodily platform, and he was beyond the mind and the senses. But this is a very high level of understanding, a very high level of advancement. It's nothing to do with intellectual, pursuit that we think, okay, now this is mine. This is actually mystical. In reality, Krishna consciousness is a very mystical thing. We don't understand ourselves how mystical it is. First of all, the whole creation of the world, how we walk with 2 feet, this is so mystical. We have feet. Did you ever think about this? Feet? Why do we have feet? We could have 3, something else, But we have feet. So how this is amazing. But we somehow take it for granted. I have feet, This is very mystical. The whole thing is mystical. How we eat, how we go to the bathroom, how our hair grows. This is very mystical stuff. The scientists explain this is the chromosomes, whatever, this and that. But reality is very mystical. Very, why do we don't fall? This gravity or so-called. Prabhupada says actually the gravity doesn't exist. Prabhupada says this is Krishna's energy. Krishna's energy holding all these universes. Everything is Krishna's energy. So that means everything is mystical. Because Krishna's energy controls everything. And we think it is a gravity, law of gravity, or we throw the rock and falls down, whatever, So we should understand that Krishna is the Yogeshwara, the master of all the mystic powers. And we somehow, by our illusion and our complete ignorance, we don't understand things as they are. Same thing as the mind. It's just the mind. Because it is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when devotees sleep, the pure devotee sleeps, he or she does not actually sleep. There's a different types of unconsciousness is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And first one is sleeping, second one is deep sleep, and third one is called sushupti, or comatose, coma-like sleep. When somebody is in coma. And so the devotee actually is not affected by these three types of sleep. So that means the devotee is always awake. How does that work? We will see when we come to this stage. Your body is sleeping, but you're actually completely awake. I know this. Prabhu told this story once that they went to see Prabhupada, and they were leaving. German devotees were going to England, they were in England and going back to Germany. So they wanted to offer obeisance to Prabhupada, and they said they went to a room. Prabhupada was sleeping, leaning on the wall, just sleeping. And they said, Prabhupada, we are leaving. And Prabhupada says something, Hare Krishna, Krishna bless you. And he said it, but he was sleeping, and he just sees it. His mouth was saying something, and then he can't continue sleeping. So it's a highest level of mysticism, actually, to be a devotee. To be a devotee is the highest level of mysticism. People want to be mystics, but this is actually because you are connected with the highest mystic, Krishna. Anything else? Yes, Mataji. I think it's all right.
So I think 1 month ago I was listening to some lectures from Abhiram Prabhu, who is Srila Prabhupada's disciple, and he was his nurse in his last 3 months.
Yes, Abhiram, yes, I know.
And he was telling about these 3 months, and he was saying that in these 3 months he actually never saw Srila Prabhupada sleep, in the sense that he would rest, he would lie down like this. But any moment, so Abhiram Prabhu was always in his room because of his health. At any moment, he would just start speaking to Abhiram Prabhu, and then stop speaking, and then sometime later continue speaking.
Yes. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Yes.
You mentioned that in one of your ashram, the goal is like to realize we are not this body, and which are the goals of your ashram?
I'm sorry?
You mentioned that in Vanaprastha ashram, the goal is to realize that we are not this body.
Yes. This is the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. What is the goal of the other ashrams? Yes, the goal of the other ashrams are as follows. To be a brahmachari, the goal is to study the Shastra. A student, like a school, going to school. So you just basically, when you're a young boy or young girl, you just learn stuff. You study the Shastra and serve the Guru. It's a basic training. The duty of a Grihastha is the goal of Grihastha ashram is to learn to give things away, to be charitable. You just have to be charitable as a Grihastha. You have to give things up, because the tendency of Grihastha is to accumulate mine. Every Grihastha knows the keller is full. It's the keller is full of stuff and full of. Then your storage unit pay outside and also full, and your car's also full, and you need another car. And so the duty of a Grihastha, the goal of a Grihastha is to learn to give away. Meaning the ultimate goal. You have caring for the kids, everything, but your ultimate goal is to learn how to slowly give away, to give up things. And the next stage is Vanaprastha, give up everything, but also give up your body to realize you are not the body at all. You see how progressive stage. First you have some intellectual knowledge. This is about the philosophy, about the material world, the spiritual world. Is a brahmachari. And then next to Grihastha has to give things, has to give charities. But Prabhupada says that in the old days, in the Vedic days, Grihastha goes out and he shouts, "Anybody hungry?" So if somebody is hungry, they have to come and they give it to them. So this is they have to learn how to give. This for German a little bit difficult, but somehow the culture is a little bit different. A little more in the eastern more. I don't know where you are from. South America, where are you from? Mix, So there's a little bit different, So they have to learn how to give. They have to learn how to give things away, and so much so that at the end of their lives they just give everything away. They just said, "Okay, I'm 50, 60 years old. I give to my son, my daughter, house, I give this, cars, and I give up everything. So then Vanaprastha, they say, okay, now we give up our idea, the view of the body. And the duty of a sannyas is actually to learn the absolute truth, to more like philosophical duty. To learn to realize Brahman, not just to do austerities, but actually is much more intellectual feat. So this is the goal of the ashrams, yeah.
But it's not necessary, for example, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur he was Girihastha, but he was like sannyas.
Yes, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur also gave up his Grihastha life. He took Babaji initiation. At the end of his life, he gave up the family life. So the point is, ultimately you have to give up everything, sooner or later. He was doing as a Grihastha and everything, but to him, as his realization came, okay, now I have to give up even this. Grihastha ashram is not meant for self-realization. Grihastha ashram, Prabhupada liked the Grihasthas to preach and this and that, but you never seen in any Shastra, in a Srimad Bhagavatam, they said, he has entered Grihastha ashram, then he became a great, It's not such a thing. We use the Grihastha ashram, raise children for Krishna, we serve Krishna. And Prabhupada says, the Grihasthas who are detached, they are the same as sannyasis. But still, when you take sannyasa, when you become vanaprastha, it's a different level because you have really given up everything. So something like this. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jaya, Bhagavad Gita ki Jaya.